The good, the bad, the ugly, in the name of awareness and advocacy. Hello, everyone. You're listening to On the Air Sickled, where we air the good, the bad, the ugly in the name of awareness and advocacy. And we have a good one for you today. Our special guest is none other than On the Air Sickled's own Chaplain Kian Alston. And that's coming at you live right now.
On the Air Sickled, you are never alone. Together we're stronger. Together we've grown. On the Air Sickled, where love shines through. Awareness, compassion for me and you. On the Air Sickled.
Hello again, everyone. My name is OD. I'm the executive director and host for On the Air Sickled, and I am so excited to be able to come to you and share another great episode of our podcast. Today's show is extremely special to me. My childhood friend and brother, who serves as our On the Air Sickled chaplain, is our special guest, Kian Alston. We've known each other for years. I'm not going to age myself, but I'm turning 35 on Saturday. I mean, hey, it is what it is. But listen, so excited to have him on. Before we bring him on to the show, let's go ahead and talk about our weather. Today's weather is going to be a high of 73 and a low of 57 degrees. Make sure that you all are staying warm and staying hydrated. Tomorrow's weather is going to be a high of 71 and a low of 55. All right. So the weather is changing. We want to make sure that we're staying out of the hospital. Let's not give the folks our money. OK, I mean, copay is expensive. But now at this time, before we continue, let's turn things over to our co-host, Miss Erin Washington. Erin, how are you, friend?
I'm still here. I can't complain. How about yourself?
I'm good. I'm super excited about what we're about to witness, a moment where I get to interview my friend, my brother of over 20 years. Just so excited. But before we dive into that, listen, I mean, for real, let's talk about our sponsors.
All right, I want to say thank you to Sickle Cell Medical Advocacy. Again, we appreciate you, especially being that back pocket for all the sickle cell warriors out there. Same with Cappy's craft studios. We love those hairbands. They're made with love, and we appreciate everything that you do. Because Lord knows that took you a lot of time. Oh, it's beautiful. I got that one.
I have a black one. I think Chardonnay actually got like 6 of them. So special thank you to our sponsors for supporting On the Air Sickle all the time. You all make this special for us, and it just motivates us to keep on going. All right, now without further ado, I want to talk about our guest for this episode, Chaplain Kian Alston. Chaplain Kian is a devoted spiritual leader. He is renowned for his profound love of studying and sharing God's word in a transformative manner with a passion rooted in deep personal journey of faith. Kian has dedicated his life not only to understanding the divine scriptures, but also imparting their wisdom in many ways that inspire and uplift communities. His unique approach to teaching embraces both traditional and contemporary interpretations, making the ancient text accessible and relevant to modern believers. He is known for his engaging sermons and interactive workshops. Chaplain Kian fosters an environment where individuals are encouraged to explore their spirituality, ask questions, and develop a personal connection with the divine. Through his compassionate guidance and insightful teachings, he has touched countless lives, including my own, helping individuals find purpose and strength in their spiritual paths. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce to some and present to others my friend, my brother, Kian Alston. You are live on the air.
Hey, how's it going? Thank you for having me.
What's up, brother? Oh my gosh, it was a struggle trying to get you on. But I'm glad that you are here. And, so at the top of the show, we showed a clip of me getting the exchange transfusion, and you were actually there. And so I wanted to bring you onto the show to kind of talk about your experience, talk about what you were feeling, what your thoughts were, and honestly allow you the space to even ask questions as well. As our chaplain, you have a big responsibility as me being executive director, connecting with our community. But this time you were actually there. So tell us about what you saw, how that made you feel, and what was going through your mind.
Well, for beginners, I think it's worth noting that it has been 16 years since the last time I was able to go with you for an exchange transfusion. And to see the lengths and the strides and the improvements from then to now, such a stark contrast. There was a sense of renewed hope mixed with pain, because I remember 16 years ago going with you and they were doing it with the butterfly. And it was more tedious, it was more intense. And I remember having to step out the room because I just couldn't bear to see that process. To fast forward to today, like I said, to see the lengths and the strides that has been made in treatment, it's just profound for myriad reasons. Because although there have been many lengths and strides made, one of the things that I immediately notice is that it costs more for the patients. Because as opposed to the butterfly, where they're having to just put a smaller needle, this needle was huge. I mean, I almost passed out. I lost feeling in my right foot. Y'all think I'm joking. I'm so serious. And as they were drawing from the port, I was amazed at how, one, you were able to take that pain. Not one needle this time, not in comparison to the one, but 2 very large needles that I thought they only use that size to remove marrow. And to see them having to position it a certain way, to see them handle you with care, kudos to the team that handled you with care. It was very transformative to go from that to that. But like I said, to see how much it costs even now And I don't believe a lot of people really realize how much it costs every patient every day to get up and have to fight, to get up and have to fight the unknown fights. And this, you wake up and you don't even know what you're going to be feeling like or how you're going to be feeling. It did something to me. It shook me to the core. To have a renowned sense of appreciation, not just for life, but for the life and the fight that you continue to fight and continue to live in the name of, not just yourself, but for all of those that will be able to benefit from just your service. I remember when you initially began, it was experimental, and you were donating and donating, and you were giving of yourself all the time, to now to kind of be able to be more of a recipient of the efforts and strides of over a course of 16 years. And so to say that I was shell shocked is an understatement, but to bring it all together, I would say that I have been able to witness all that you have poured and sown in not just time, but blood, sweat, and literal tears. To see you benefit from it is not something that you see every day. Most people are pioneers and legacy builders, but they never had the opportunity to benefit from their strides. And so if there was any moments of joy, those were my moments of joy. But I experienced the complexity of emotions as I watched you, my dear friend, undergo such a lengthy. I mean, it was you were there for hours, and just to realize that it doesn't just take place in the hospital and having to go downstairs to the recovery room, but then having to miss a day of work, and then still not feel your best, and then need to nourish yourself all throughout the rest of the night, even into the wee hours of the morning. I don't think people understand the totality of what it costs. But seeing that firsthand as an older, more mature individual and friend, it just reshaped and redefined my level of respect and love for this mission and movement.
That was
You
beautiful.
Thank you.
I remember when On the Air Sickle was in its infancy, and and I had a conversation with you, and you said, hey, I don't know how. I mean, I don't have sickle cell, but I want to be part of this. You're onto something, and I just see it growing and being bigger than what you can even dream or imagine.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember me saying, maybe I can use somebody like you to be a spiritual leader for our team, for the community. And I asked you that, and you had to take a moment to kind of reflect and decide whether or not that was a journey that you wanted to embark on. Can
Yeah.
you walk me through what that was for you? Like, what were the deciding factors? Yes, I'm your friend, but what was it that said, you know what, I think that this is something that I really need to jump on board with and get started with?
What motivated your guidance to be a part of this miracle team?
You know, I think this question is more challenging than the first. It started with a friendship. And within that friendship, I began, as you so eloquently stated, to see this magnified. And I believe any great movements require faith. And so that's the spiritual component. And the reason there was so much hesitancy is because of my lack of knowledge concerning sickle cell. And so I was challenged in that I knew this is something that I wanted to be a part of, but how could I offer aid and assistance from a spiritual context or spiritual perspective without having journeyed through this myself? And so there was the challenge, and there is the challenge. And so, to frankly and plainly put, the catalyst in my decision is that I'm never going to allow knowledge to be a barrier for me. And so, having being able to partner and to take the navigator's course, but also to see now after 16 years what this looks like and to see it expeditiously grow um, is important. I also believe that there are a need for voices in the shadows, in the quiets behind the scene, because this disease is not on the mainstream, it's not on the front line. Although celebrities, politicians suffer with this or live with this to fight through this, it has not yet made the mainstream. And I believe that the guiding force for any inception is faith. And if it be faith, and because it is faith, it needs voices. And so, with what I have and with what I'm learning, it pushed me to want to not just be there, but to remain. Not just to remain, but to assist in setting up systems so that this infrastructure can be a living organism well beyond any of us, for that matter. And what continues to drive me is, and what fuels me is learning more. Um, and I believe that's what's going to even fuel this movement is the more we bring this to the forefront, the more this is brought to the eye of the public, it's going to continue to live and to thrive. And I believe that that for me was not just the decider, but is the decider um, to continue on. So I hope that answers your question.
Yeah,
I love how
absolutely,
you said
absolutely.
that, like how warriors need help and
Hmm.
sometimes mental therapy. I was literally on the phone with one of my best friends that saw me go through a lot of
Hmm.
crisis in my bone marrow transplant. She's like, Erin, is there a way that I can talk to other people other than your parents and sisters that will
Hmm.
help me and guide me through watching you go through this? I know you need me to hold your hand and tell you everything's going to be okay, but I need that too. And
Hmm.
that's past what you can give me.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah. It is one of those things that like until you're actually in the room, all you have is your imagination. You don't have the reality of the pain. You don't have
Hmm.
the, you know, you already are sort of at a loss, by way of experience because you're not
Right.
living with it, right?
Hmm.
Um, but to witness, I remember when I was younger having moments where I would be on the floor, almost in a fetal position, and like just in pain, trying to control my breathing. And my mom standing at the door with worried eyes. And in that moment, looking at her, realizing that there is nothing that she can physically do to remove my pain. Right.
Hmm.
And just to be able to see her hurting, to see her child on the floor gasping for air and waiting for emergency services, uh,
Hmm.
the pain that was in her eyes, it is for me. I knew that I would be okay, even though I was in pain. But to see my mom worry, right, and try to cheer me on and say, please breathe, and I'm like, Mom, I'm breathing. Mom, I'm trying. I can't catch my breath. You know,
Hmm.
I often describe sickle cell pain as the beast within. Like if my chest is hurting, there is an
Hmm.
ant trying to come out and it can't. It's almost like Hulk without Bruce Banner. So it is I long for moments and opportunities for people who don't have sickle cell disease to be in the
Hmm.
room And I remember my wife was like, Atma, are you going to prepare? Are you going to prepare him? Or are you going to tell him? And I'm like, no, I'm not going to tell him. I'm not going to tell him. I want it to be organic. I want the experience to be real for you as it is for me, right? And I think what you do by doing that is you create an environment that you can't escape, just like I can't escape, this illness, right? And it makes you think about all of the stories that you've heard about the disease, and now the reality is in front of you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. Not that I wasn't prepared, but the way you articulated that, it gives you that raw emotion, because that's what draws us closer, not just in the experience, but in life. And it allows us and others to be a better advocate. It is already a challenge to attempt to be there for someone and know that there's nothing you can do except use your voice. And just that alone, you were describing the pain of your mother in her eyes, or your spouse, or your friend or whomever, to know now this is what I can do, and getting in the room and getting as close with it as you can, bridging the gap in any way necessary and by any means necessary. I believe is what pulls us closer in the challenge and in the fight. And I believe that that's what fuels the fight. Most people will not partner or subscribe to something where there's no knowledge base. And if they do, they're limited in their involvement because of the lack of knowledge. And so you see people fading off with the various movements. And I wish there were more opportunities like that. One of the things that I really enjoyed documenting my time while having that experience with you were the donors, but the donor students. And just watching the amazement in their eyes that what they are giving while learning was helping someone that they'd never met. And there was something honorable in that exchange where they came in bright-eyed and bushy-tailed and left deeply contemplating, what can I do next? Am I doing enough? And as I was drawing from that well, I myself began to delve deep into what can we do. And one of the things that's so simple is donating blood. Because there's so many variants, and correct me if I'm not using the correct terminology concerning the traits and the compositions, because I'm still in school, right? Y'all got me in medical school now. So what a joy Dr. Simone is. She's amazing. Very gifted and talented in the area of being able to teach something so complex to bring it down, so a shout out again to Dr. Simone. She's awesome. And to see that was, it draws you, it makes you want to get involved. And I would not be surprised if you've seen those faces again and again. And I believe that, as you made mention, being in the room and having that experience is what more people need to have. It'll make them a more effective friend, spouse, navigator, advocate, voice, campaigner, fundraiser, whatever, however you have been called, and you choose and you've chosen to serve the community for sickle cell, because there's so much to do. I was researching the strides and the high points in the research, and what I'm noticing now is that there has been kind of a standstill, and so that fascinated me, and it drew me in and it caught my attention, because in 2009, which was the first time I went with you, 2010 they took off. It was something about 2002. They took off and they began to be able to offer many treatments as opposed to just that one, because of the research, because of the donation, because of people donating blood. But what has us stagnant, I believe, is the continued lack of support. And
Yes.
so I think that that is worth noting, which is why it was so important for me to get down there and to get in the room with you, not to just offer support, because that was my first thing. And how could I not offer support to my friend for over 20 years? Um, but to be more effective to my friend and for my friends and for On the Air Sickle, and to every person that comes into this studio or walks in the door or that walks in a hospital room or suffering in silence at home and feels like no one understands or you could possibly never know what I'm going through. And so how then could you offer me any solace during my time of crisis or recovery?
Yeah. It
So,
is. It is one of the reasons why I never reject the opportunity for a student to come and see.
mhm,
Not that I want to be poked 50 times, but you
yeah,
know, but I want them to be able to understand that when you come in and you take care of a patient with sickle cell disease, that this is not something that is, like I'm not there to drug seek. If I wanted the drugs,
mhm,
I would go on the street and go get it, right? You're taking my money. I need the care. Okay.
mhm,
So I want the student to be able to say, okay, I don't have the disease. I'm studying it. What does this look like in real time?
mhm,
And I've been blessed not to have extreme pain for a few years now.
mhm,
However, there are many that do. And as you
mhm,
are talking, the one thing that I started thinking about was, why are we still proving ourselves?
mhm,
Why are we still fighting for ourselves? Why isn't this disease yet understood? Right?
mhm,
And a lot of that comes from, it can't be real and it can't be seen and it can't be measured equally across the board.
mhm,
Right? So Aaron's level of pain is not OD's level of pain, right? And vice versa. And what our medical students are learning in textbook is not the reality of the disease, right?
mhm,
It is a snapshot, a glimpse into what is uh, known as sickle cell disease.
Not
But
just
to
what is,
actually
but
live
what
it,
might be sickle cell disease. Like, Chaplain, I've been working with you for a couple of months and you are an open book. We're taking the same advocacy class, and I'm seeing all of your questions that the doctors and nurses are afraid to ask. Not
mhm,
just the sickle cell patient, but their own um, people who are shadowing them. And that
mhm,
is amazing. And just like how oldies say, they read all this stuff about what sickle cell is or what could be, but it is way past what they're reading. In
mhm.
reality, it is painful, and you might
Yeah.
be not able to see it, but
Mhm.
look through us, cut us open, and know that we're still a person. And
Yeah.
when we're in pain, we will cry. We might beat
Yeah.
some people up, but that's what we tell you when we're in pain. Don't give us
yeah,
drugs and tell us that we're going to be all right. No,
Mhm.
let us know that you are listening to us. You
Yeah.
see us for how it is, not something you read in a chapter.
Yeah.
mhm. A
That's a
chapter,
good point that
a chapter.
yes.
Yeah.
I believe that with sickle cell, because there is so much unknown, or, you know, I would like to provide an excuse for them. The truth of the matter is, the knowledge that is had is enough to stop anesthetizing the pain or the patient, to stop dumbing down what a person is feeling, because pain is pain. And as OD said, your capacity for pain is different. And when you are, when you are in pain, as Dr. Simone has so eloquently repeated time and time after time, you have to believe it. And when people destroy the stigmatism of, oh, they're just looking for a fix, or they're not really in that much pain, and really believe the words that are coming out of the patient's mouth, the person you're to be serving and treating, right? Let's talk about that. Because how can you treat and serve and love someone when you have a predisposed notion concerning what they're going through? You can't. And I believe that it is a great disservice to think that you know something, as Aaron said, with one chapter. When people have lived with this for 15 years and died, and people have lived with this for 30 years and are still fighting, how can you? How can you? And so I believe that that is a part of the stagnation in the movement, the stigmatisms associated with sickle cell. So then how then do we pull those down? You know, how then can we take the scales off the eyes? Does it take for a person to, in their own family or close proximity? It shouldn't take that, especially when you make an oath as a doctor, as a nurse, as a physician, as a clinical supervisor. You take an oath, and an oath is something that must not and should not be taken lightly. And I believe that that is what business teaches, which is empathy, that the pharmaceutical world does not. They do not teach the art, the skill, the craft, the heart of empathy, to put yourself in one's seat. Because when I sat in that seat, I did my best to connect with your pain. Like I said it jokingly, but my right foot literally went numb from the thought of the blood coming out of him and it having to go through the machine, so that you can continue to be the best version of yourself, and not just have to do it once a year, not quarterly, but every month. You have to subject your body to this, and still not know if this is my last treatment. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, let's talk about it. I mean, I know I said earlier that my birthday is coming up, and I'm grateful for another year. But I have said, probably not on the show, that since 30 I have cried on my birthday, or if I haven't cried, then I'm in deep reflection. And it's not that I'm sad per se. It is the fact that when I had the stroke when I was 5, the doctors told my mom that I wouldn't live to see 15. And I remember when I turned 15 and my mother told me that story, that my prayer was, God, if you double my life, if you just give me double what the doctors have said, I will be ready to go. That was my mentality. So I lived 24. I lived 26. I lived 28 and said, my time is almost here. That was my mentality because of what the people on the white coat said, based on the knowledge that they had, that my time is almost up. And based on the idea that sickle cell patients couldn't live beyond a certain amount of time, that was my reality. And so I missed opportunities of experiences because of that. I missed, spending time with friends because of that. I missed traveling because of that, because of what the professionals said. And what I, what I took as let's put it out there, as Bible truth, right? I'm not able to go past this point. And so in reflecting after 30, I remember breaking down and calling my wife and saying, oh my gosh, I made it. I made it to 30. I made it. I'm okay now. Like, I'm okay. Why was that okay? That I would be okay. And when I turned 31, I said, oh my gosh, I'm 31. And when I turned 32, I said, oh my gosh, I'm 32. Oh my gosh, I'm 33. Okay, God, what is happening? I'm 34, right? And this Saturday I will be 35. And that, to me, you talk about exceedingly and abundantly above all that we could think or imagine. For me, that was not imaginable. I couldn't see myself at 35 years old. So I lived as if I were to die at 30. And and my experiences were limited because of that. It was limited because of that. But that's what we're doing here, right? Is we are talking about good, bad, and ugly. I was robbed of experiences based on the information that was known at the time that I saw as truth, and it wasn't true. It wasn't my truth. It is someone's truth, because I don't want to dismiss that either.
Right.
It's truly someone's truth. Someone died before the age of 30. Someone died before the age of 20, before the age of 10, right? And there are people like you who have said, you know, I want to come on board with this community and spread the message and the awareness and share this information that needs to be heard to anyone that will listen. Right. And there are family members. We had someone recently on the show who her brother died, and he was on his way to a sickle cell conference. Wow. Right. And so now she has picked up the mantle. And even though she has trait, she is spreading the message. Right. And so it is important for me that On the Air Sickle lives beyond OD. Right. That people, like you said, donate, whether it is blood or monetarily, that you donate, because this is a movement that must be heard. This is a movement that must proceed. This is something that can't be stopped. This is an engine that needs all of its oil and needs all of its gas, right? So that is something that, you know, drives me. And it is why I wear this shirt proudly, right? That we are on the air. Right? We're not talking about, and again, not to diminish any other illness, but we're not talking about cancer today. We're not talking about, you know, dementia today. We're not talking about anything that we're talking about sickle cell, and we're putting a voice to the disease.
Yeah. You spoke of
that for your birthday. When I was going through my birthdays, I used to write myself a letter saying that congratulations, you made it to this age. Even though you won't make it for the next one, congratulations for beating all odds, all bad talks against you. Once I made it to 30, I made a video and I was crying throughout this whole thing, because I never thought in my life I could say, thank you, Lord, I'm 30.
Yeah. Wow. You know, you spoke of the psychological and the emotional turmoil and anguish as a result of the medical professionals' expertise, for lack of better terms. But what people don't see is that the same medical experts that are telling you that you're not going to live past 15, they want you to trust them when you go into the ER, when you go into the hospital, to care for you. What does that do for the person, for the little boy, for the little girl, for the adult male, for the adult woman? What does that do for you when you go in knowing that there's a stigmatism attached to this, or knowing that they say that it was supposed to stop here, but I'm still here, and walking in that in faith, and having to trust the same people that said you shouldn't, you couldn't, you wouldn't? What does that do psychologically and emotionally for both of you?
A lot of, I call them legacy warriors because they're the next legends of sickle cell disease. A lot of
Hmm.
them lean on their family, their
Yeah.
mothers, their fathers, the ones that had their voice before they grew on their own.
Hmm.
So my mom knew what she could do when it came to my doctors. But again, how that ended up hurting me is that I was the patient, not my mother. So
Hmm.
whenever all the bad stuff happened to this physical form, they would
Hmm.
not break it down to me. They broke it down to
Hmm.
my mother. And my mom tried to do her best to sugarcoat it and not telling me the truth. So
Mm,
once I got older and my mom moved to a different state and my little cracking voice started popping out, I
Hmm.
realized that, hey, this doctor shouldn't have done that better. I
Hmm.
trusted this doctor, this white coat, blue whole rainbow coat that was supposed to be protecting me, but they
Hmm.
wasn't. They
Wow.
did what they did, and that did make me stronger. And I respect them for that.
Hmm.
mm. I think for me, you were talking about what does that do for you psychologically. I I want to balance my passion a little bit because and my wife has always said that there is a need for holistic approach and there's a need for pharmaceutical approach to care, right?
Hmm.
Um, and she has said, as a nutritionist, that food is not going to help a gunshot wound. You
Hmm.
need the medical professionals to be able to help the gunshot wound. So I'm grateful for the I'm grateful for those that have dedicated their time to hematology, and have dedicated their time to supporting sickle cell and
Hmm.
advancing medical care. Um, but I would be lying to say that there is not some form of doubt that has been placed in me as a sense of fear
Hmm.
for what will happen next.
Mm.
What I mean by that is I still have full blown SS sickle cell disease.
Mhm.
Um, but I connected with my care team who convinced me to do the exchange transfusion.
Mhm.
And even when I went to go do that, I had doubt. Is this
Wow.
going to work? What if they take out too much blood? What if
Yeah.
they don't replace enough? Um, and then I've interviewed people, like Aaron, who have gotten the bone marrow transplant. And
Mhm.
for me, I won't do it. I just, not that I couldn't do it, I won't do
Mhm.
it because the unknown is still very great for me. For me,
Mhm. Yeah.
Mhm.
there are many that have done it, but for me, emotionally, mentally, psychologically, it's still not enough.
Wow.
I am. Wow, I did not realize this show was gonna get me emotional.
It's
I am
supposed to.
really,
It's okay.
I'm really trying to walk the life that I have in confidence and
Mhm.
gratitude because of the um, because of the medical care that I have received, and
Mhm.
I'm satisfied with where I am from the medical care that I've received.
Mhm.
Um, but I am not detached from sickle cell, right? And I know someone who's like, hey, why don't you just go and why don't you get it? Like you can be completely healed from it. For me, it is, yeah, but the percentages are still not where I can
Mhm.
confidently trust that
Yeah.
I can, go under this procedure and come out being the same Otmar. I know people that have gone through it and are better off than before they did the procedure. And then I know people who are worse than when they started, that they would have
Mhm.
preferred to have just maintained their current lifestyle. And then I
Yeah.
know people who have gotten cancer from doing the procedure, you know?
Wow.
And so it is like, okay, there's too many unknown variables here for me to be able to fully lay and rest in this idea that this can actually work for me. Not that it
Mhm.
can't, but like your question was about the psychological and emotional toll. It is
Yeah.
there. I mean, when it rains, my kids know when it rains, I'm affected.
Hmm.
When it rains, I prepare myself for pain.
Mm.
When it gets too cold, I prepare myself for pain. And I am more shocked that I am not in pain than I am when I'm in pain.
Mm.
So, and a lot of that is because as a 35-year-old human being, I've lived with this my whole life. So I know the patterns, and I know that when I exert myself, that I, will end up in a crisis situation.
Hmm.
So I think that, while there is progress, there
Hmm.
is still more progress to be done.
Yeah.
And and again, going back to, like I said, Erin feels differently than I feel. She knows her body, I know my body, and the pain is different for each person. But when you have a cookie cutter approach to everyone's care, it's
Hmm.
going to be unsuccessful.
Yeah.
I love how you said that word pain because a lot of, especially growing up with a disease called sickle cell, we don't know that we're in pain. Oh my gosh,
Hmm.
I was walking at my job and I had leg surgery and my ankle was like bleeding massively. And my
Mm.
manager's like, Aaron, you need to sit down, wrap up your ankle. You're bleeding like crazy. And I look down, I'm like, I'm bleeding? I
Wow.
did not, I had no idea. I'm just walking.
Mm.
And she's like, why do you need anything? You need some medication. I need you to look down because this is a lot of blood. I'm like, oh,
Mm.
and
Yeah, yeah. The pain that we feel is not going to be. Uh, Charnay always says, "Hey, what level is your pain?"
Yeah.
And that's a normal routine doctor's question when you're in the emergency room. Is
Hmm.
you're there for care? What level is your pain on a scale from 1 to 10? So if I say a 2, Chardonnay will always add 2 or 3 more
Hmm.
because
mm,
because my acknowledgement of pain I'm used to.
You're used
I
to
don't
it.
realize that I'm in more pain than what I believe I'm in,
Hmm.
right? And I've only confessed twice in my whole life that I'm at a 10 out of 10 pain.
Wow.
And I will be crying and screaming because of the pain.
Hmm.
So she'll always add 2 or 3 notches more. And I'd be like, no, no,
Hmm.
no, it's okay, it's okay. No, you're really a 5.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that. But in my heart and in my head, I'm like, I'm not that bad. But if you know sickle cell disease, it is constantly tearing at your body,
Hmm.
right? It is constantly tearing at your organs. So while you feel like you can run a mile, your body is like, you're probably not going to be able to walk 2 feet,
Yeah.
you know?
Wow.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah. What
and
other
I love
questions you
how you
got?
said that too, Akbar. Like, especially when I was getting ready for my bone marrow transplant, all the stuff that sickle cell disease that happened throughout my years did not stop. And I heard that you brought someone that had cancer. I ended up getting epilepsy during my bone marrow transplant process. Another
Mm.
woman who's gotten a bone marrow transplant had graft versus host disease following her out throughout her life. Yes, getting the bone marrow transplant is it's a difficult game. You might need
Mhm.
to fight really hard to get to that light of hope. But I'm proud to share my story, and I'm proud of other people that know their body enough to say that I might have sickle cell disease, but sickle cell does not have me.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I love hearing, and especially all these legacy warriors and golden warriors. Oh my God, I met a warrior that was living with sickle cell disease that made it to the age of 96. You got to forgive me. My face is
Wow.
cracking and crying. But that is incredible.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Mm.
amazing.
Wow.
That's amazing.
Mm.
So, Chaplain, what is, if you were to speak into the camera right now,
Mhm.
what would be the message that you would give to our viewers, to warriors, to family members, to the community? I want to take this moment for Aaron and I to remove ourselves and to give you the screen to be able to talk straight into the camera and tell everyone your thoughts on sickle cell.
Um, Something quite simple. Uh, Hosea chapter 6, verse 4 says, "My people perish for lack of knowledge." And I believe that it is this continual lack, whether you are going in for treatment and you don't know if um, the doctor is going to be an advocate for you, whether you're a spouse or a friend or a loved one standing by, or just hanging out with someone that has the trait or the disease, and whether you're a medical professional that has studied it for 20 years. I believe that we owe it not just to ourselves, but to the community at large to get a better, deeper understanding of not just the disease, but each person. Um, because when we do that, then we can bridge the gap. We can create formidable forces. We can garnet. We can not be guarded with our resources and time, and give more freely of ourselves. Because those are the key ingredients that the community is missing. And that's going to be critical, not in just the succession of the movement, but of someone's life. And when we connect with the idea and the truth that someone's life is consistently on the line, and it could be someone very close to us that we don't even realize is suffering, because of the stigmatisms associated that has caused them to recluse into a cave or to retreat within the recesses of their own mind and heart, because there's no safe space, because there's no one, or so they think, there's no one that understands that there's no one that's going to show the level of care needed from day to day, from week to week, month to month, and year to year. And so it's when we begin to build our, not just our knowledge, but understanding. When we get under this thing, when we begin to examine it more than just through the lens of a textbook or a statistic or a test, but when we connect with the community, when we connect with someone, when we go and sit in the hospitals, when we make ourselves available for whatever and in whatever way, whether it's walking, donating blood, as I said, being an advocate, giving your money, giving your time. I believe that is what the community needs. I believe that is how we can be more effective and ensure that this movement, like so many other movements, make the front lines, you know, come from the shadows to the forefront. And it's going to require some things from the warrior, and from the community. And that is faith. It's going to require faith. It's going to require a willingness to get to know something that you have no template, typology, basis of. And as we continue to connect in a deeper way and in a more meaningful way, then we can bring this to the forefront of our nation and more lives can be saved. And love. because understanding, I believe, births empathy, and empathy care, and care love, because that's what's ultimately needed. And so that's what I would say to the world, to the nations.
Ken, I want to say thank you so much for, joining us,
My
and
pleasure.
honestly for being so raw and transparent with your experience. I appreciate it on many levels, of course, as a friend, as a brother. But I think I probably needed this discussion
Mm,
more than I thought. I think that this environment is so mission focused that
mhm.
when you get so focused on the mission and not the person behind the mission or the
Yeah,
person behind the mission, that you can lose the mission, right, for
yeah.
yourself. And so I've heard that On the Air Sickled has been very therapeutic for many of our guests.
Mhm.
I think today it was therapeutic for me, and it just made me more grateful for the opportunity that I have to partner with, people like you and Aaron and our team who is operating the screen right now. It's a humbling journey, a huge responsibility, and a weight that can be heavy for the wrong person. All right.
Yeah,
Um, but I'm just grateful to have you on the show, and so thank you for joining.
my pleasure. I'm here for the long haul.
I appreciate you. Listen, we're gonna put you in the green room. Don't leave us,
Okay.
Aaron. What do you think,
Yeah.
man? That was huge. Yeah.
I love that we're now just not talking to warriors, but the family behind the warriors. The
Yeah.
family that makes sure that the warriors stay strong and keep them pushing.
Yeah.
I love that we're doing that.
Absolutely. And you know what? If this is the start of something huge, right? And we're not just looking, ladies and gentlemen, for the warrior anymore. We're looking for those that want to get on board and join the fight. We're looking for those that are connected directly or indirectly with the sickle cell community. We're looking for the stories and the voices to be heard, right? That's why we are here for On the Air Sickle. We want to bring that to the forefront of every discussion possible. Listen, you can be the next guest on the air with On the Air Sickled. Simply go to www.ontheairsickle.com, click the share my story link at the top, and fill out the form. Our team will review it. Please make sure that you give us a little bit of information as to why you want to be on the show. We want to know a little bit of your story before we air your story. Okay. So you saying, hey, I'm OD with sickle cell disease, SS, you may not get on. We want to know a little bit more about you and why you want to be on this podcast. There are so many other podcast opportunities, but this one we want to be intentional about and be able to share your story with diligence and respect, and with confidence. Also, ladies and gentlemen, please, we want to encourage you to give from your heart, whatever monetary gift that you can offer On the Air Sickled. It does go in onto good soil. We have a 3-layered vision. Our 3-layered vision is for On Air Sickle's continued growth and development. If you have followed On the Air Sickle, then you know that our team has grown. We have a co-host now. We have a chaplain. We have people that are working the backgrounds. And so there are people that are on board to tell the story and to tell it raw. And we want to be able to support our ongoing development with On Air Sickle. The systems that you see, the production that you see, it all comes at a cost. And so we need your support. The second part of our vision is to support sickle cell research. And so as Chaplain has discussed, He is part of the Navigators course with SCMA, along with our co-host Aaron, and they're learning, right? They're researching, they're understanding this disease process in a whole different way. And so we need to be able to fund those efforts as well. And then the last thing is dear to my heart, the Flip the Bill campaign. If you would just imagine for a moment a mother, a father who has sickle cell disease that is in the hospital and can no longer work. Maybe they are missing out on that paycheck, or maybe they're not able to provide food on the table for their family, or maybe there's a doctor's appointment that they just can't afford and they really have to go to. They could come on board, tell their story, and we be able to flip that bill for them to prevent financial hardship with their family. Maybe provide food for a week, maybe take on that primary care payment, maybe that emergency room visit. So we want to be able to flip the bill. I'm going to ask that our team put our information on the screen for, we have a QR code. We made it simple for you to be able to give to us. So again, you can either do PayPal or Zelle. Can we get that on the screen for our audience members there? There we go. So there you go, ladies and gentlemen. Feel free to take a picture of that QR code. Again, if you want to Zelle, please send it to ontheairsickled@gmail.com. Again, ontheairsickled@gmail.com. That is your opportunity to be able to give to this great organization and to be able to support our mission and our efforts. All right. Well, that is our show. Listen, don't miss a single episode of On the Air Sickle. Please feel free to follow us on all of our social media platforms. We are currently on YouTube, so make sure that you hit that notification button. Don't miss a single episode of On the Air Sickle, as well as follow us on Facebook and Instagram. We're also on Spotify, Amazon, Audible, as well as iHeartRadio, where we are airing the good, the bad, the ugly in the name of awareness and advocacy. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm OD.
And I'm Aaron.
And remember, you are never alone.